The Environmental Protection Agency is poised over each experiment, each test. Over the years, there have been a very few, very small, accidental releases, all within the test site, or with those few that have, since 1963, the effects of which may have gone over the borders of the test site have been determined to be of no damage to individuals or the environment.
Within months of Prescott's cancer diagnosis, a radioactive cloud erupted into the atmosphere over the Nevada test site.
December of 1970, we had a test called the Baneberry event, of which a significant amount of residue came out of the ground as a result of a test, which caused concern on-site in the local area. It did not cause significant concern off-site to the public health and safety.
30 minutes after the explosion, the cloud closed in on Camp 12, where 900 test site workers were stationed. Harley Roberts was sent to evacuate those workers.
By the time he and about 13 other security guards arrived there to conduct the evacuation procedure, the cloud was there. And Mr. Roberts then, for the next 45 minutes to an hour, banged on trailers, as did the other 13 security guards, alerting everyone to get in their cars, form a caravan, and get out of there as quickly as possible. After he left the camp, he was monitored at one location by a radiation safety monitor.
He had his handheld detector on there, and he run it down my front. And he switched the thing, and it went, you know how they sound when they're picking up something hot? They just scream at you. And he switched it, and he run it down again, and it screamed. I could see the needle on the thing, and it went plumb over it. And he said, "You're hot as hell. Get out of here."
Mr. Roberts went up to another checkpoint and informed his supervisor that he was hot, but he was sent off to this remote station to prevent other workers from coming into the contaminated area.
86 test site workers were decontaminated that day. Harley Roberts, who had spent 7 hours at the remote checkpoint, was the last to scrub down under the ice-cold shower. Along with 14 other test site workers, Roberts sued the Atomic Energy Commission for negligence and injury. 3.5 years later, he died of leukemia.
Our goal in bringing the case to trial was to establish, number one, that the government can be held accountable and that it is possible to show that they do commit acts of negligence in the area of health and safety concerns.
One expert witness on radiation and health was Dr. John Goffman.
I was asked to testify in that case, and I did testify before Judge Foley that those leukemia cases were very reasonably to be adjudged as having been caused by radiation.
Judge Foley ruled that there was not a conclusive link between the workers' leukemia and their exposure to fallout. But he found the AEC guilty of several counts of negligence. For the first time in history, the U.S. government had been held accountable for violating its own standards for health and safety.
As far as the Atomic Energy Commission is concerned, I have no respect for them. I think they gave us a dirty deal. They wanted just to have full control of whatever they wanted to do, regardless of the consequences.
Now, they can shove one man aside, you know, and then maybe pass a buck, whatnot, but when you start finding quite a few people have the same thing, then there's something wrong there. I think the Atomic Energy Commission just done a lot of things they shouldn't have done. Now they're trying to cover up.
Atomic veteran Paul Cooper was diagnosed with leukemia in 1977. One of 14,000 veterans who fought for compensation following exposure to atomic tests, Cooper was among the first to receive full disability benefits. A few months later, he died. His death raised profound questions throughout the downwind communities where cancer rates were growing.
When I think about what they did to us deliberately and knowingly, it makes me so angry. My friends and my neighbors are dying. Every house on my street right now, there's somebody dying from cancer, except one.
Downwinder fears were confirmed by a major study of the health impact of fallout in southern Utah.
I did the leukemia study because it was one of those questions that had arisen numerous times in the past. What were the health effects from the fallout? The government had answered several times that there were none. We looked at children only, and so children are much more sensitive to radiation than adults. So if you're going to see an effect, you'd likely see it among children more than adults.
Dr. Lyon's study found a 2.5-fold increase in childhood leukemia resulting from fallout.
We went back and literally redid the study ourselves. We checked every record. We recognized minimally the political explosiveness. I don't think any of us had fully realized the impact at the time.
The Lyon study and Cooper's death jolted the governor of Utah into action. Scott Matheson, a downwinder who suffered from cancer, demanded congressional hearings on the impact of nuclear testing.
For the citizens of my state, as well as for the residents of the neighboring states of Nevada and Arizona, this major investigation is long overdue. This hearing today comes some 28 years after continental atomic weapons testing began in 1951. At that time and in the years that followed, an all-out public relations campaign was mounted by the Atomic Energy Commission to assure those who live close to the test site that, quote, there is no danger, end quote.
2 of my sisters have also had cancer, and 2 types for one sister. One of my brothers has fertility problems. My mother and father both have skin cancer. And my mother has had ovarian cancer.
We were totally misled in the information they gave us as to the dangers involved. We were led to believe, of course, as has come out in the testimony, that there was no danger.
Following the hearings, a congressional report called for legislation to compensate the victims of nuclear testing. Elmer Pickett joined over 1,200 downwind plaintiffs in a lawsuit against the U.S. government for health damages they claimed were caused by testing. In federal court, government scientists testified that they'd suppressed evidence that fallout endangered public health.
Today, in a landmark federal court decision, Judge Bruce Jenkins ruled the federal government was negligent in conducting above-ground nuclear tests in the 1950s and 60s. It was a major victory for the American people living downwind of the Nevada test site.
Judge Jenkins ruled fallout from the test caused cancer, that American citizens died due to the failure of the government to warn them of the dangers of radioactive fallout.
The ruling is vindication for the people of southern Utah. A federal judge said today what the people of southern Utah have been saying for a long time, that in the interest of national security, the government sacrificed some of the people of the West.
In the opinion, we did say public statements by the Atomic Energy Commission did not warn and did not educate. They just reassured. These statements demonstrate that the responsible persons at the operational level of continental nuclear testing neglected an important basic idea. And then we indeed said there is nothing wrong with telling the American people the truth. And I feel strongly about that.
Subsequently, the Allen case decision was overturned. The government claimed sovereign immunity. It claimed that in the interests of national security, it withheld information from the public, that this information could have damaged national security, and that it knew best, like the king, that what was good for the people and what it would tell the people and what information it would withhold from the people.
It developed into a culture of secrecy. The whole idea was, because of the Cold War and because of the great intensity of this arms race with the Soviet Union, that we could not risk telling people anything about the nuclear weapons program, and therefore the entire program was exempt from oversight from occupational agencies, from the United States Congress, from the usual kinds of medical and health-related standards that we take for granted in the rest of our society.